listening to Wolf Spirit Radio.
Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us today. We are going to enter into another day of Answers from the Universe in the Andronicus transmissions. Happy to be here and feeling good, getting in some new information and wanting to share with everyone. Today is, we're getting close to April Fools and we had some interesting, a fun message from Gary, of course, and we have Meetis, an interesting message from Rhodan, as well as Andrew has visited us today instead of Andronicus.
It's been a long time, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's funny because, Andronicus will show up and then Andrew shows up, and people don't realize this is Andrew from another time. And then, of course, we have John from the future. But Andronicus is always present in every show, one way or another. I think there's been only like one or two shows where he wasn't there at all. And so, because of that, I think the other aspects are showing up. Just to, make sure that they have whatever message that they have for us comes through loud and clear. And it's usually very helpful, isn't it?
So it's interesting. I'm chatting with my guides about bringing everything together, bringing all the various fragments together. And I think that's part of it. And some of those fragments are not as nice as we like them to be. Shadow people.
It's necessary, though, isn't it? Isn't it necessary for everything to kind of come through? Because, even we individually have that kind of hidden side to ourselves, and we like to discard that aspect of ourselves, just kind of toss it away. And sometimes, I think throughout time and space and throughout our soul journey, we actually do break off from aspects that are not so appealing, and those are the ones that are traumatized and have been through sorrow and pain, and some of them are angry, and so you want to, at some point, pull those aspects in, allow the healing to happen. But at that moment, you couldn't do it. But it's okay to do it now. You don't want all that stuff hanging out there.
Yeah, that's right. There's, like you say, we've been in a very, very long war, and there's going to be fragments of us that were killed near the beginning of it when the feelings were dead fresh. And, so they'll be very, very traumatized and very, very unhappy versions of ourselves somewhere. And, they've all got to come home and find a place in us.
No, I was just recently talking to some people, as we're starting to gather together a small group of people from the Lyrans. And we had a discussion briefly about, the Lyran trauma, and some other people that are not necessarily part of the group brought up the Lyran trauma because it really impacted even those that were not from that group. And it was very significant when you brought that in, JP, because it sort of opened up the door for a lot of people to say, it's okay for me to acknowledge that trauma, and it's time also for that trauma to be healed. Even if it wasn't the exact trauma that you were referring to, it kind of enabled a realization that healing is good and discussing it is very cathartic. So I want to thank you for that, JP. It's helped so many people and opened up new doors for those to just be able to move on.
Yeah, well, we've all got to come together. When we say come together, it's not about necessarily different people coming together. As we need to come together in ourselves, and there are parts of us, like we, always mentioning, there are shadow aspects of us that we don't see. We see them in other people. We see them projected onto the canvas of people that we use as an excuse to be angry or jealous of or this or that, emotional about. Those are the clues.
Yeah, isn't that really a waste of time, that we go through that? And people spend so much time, competing and doing all this other stuff. I mean, that's the way of the cabal. That's the way of the system. But we weren't originally created. We weren't originally supposed to be in that environment. These are attributes of the entities. I don't believe that as part of the human construct. I think that was a learned behavior and a feeling of not being welcomed or included. So that the whole jealousy thing, the envy, the cutting down, but we weren't originally created. Only what does it do? It just prolongs the ability to heal, not just individually, but as a group. So we're learning, I believe.
Yeah, and it's not always easy, and sometimes it's hard to find a place for those people, those parts of us, Well,
I think someone has to be the one that shows the way, and then tells them it's okay to not be angry and not to find a way to get through that anger. But you don't have to stay there.
Yeah, we don't have to stay there. And, like all of the other traumas that we've been talking about, when, between us and our clients and people who come to see us, you don't have to go all the way through the trauma. You just need to find the fragment and bring them home. Maybe even schlepp them out of the trauma at the time before it gets so bad. You know what I mean?
Right. I do. And you and I, have been, because we've gone through the process ourselves, we've learned to help others go through the trauma and come out on the other end of a point of healing. And I find that a lot of understanding and compassion goes a long way. And in allowing people to say, without judgment what they feel. So then they're able to at least hold on to that truth. And when they speak that truth, then they can go to the next step and realize that expression, that feeling does not necessarily define them. It is just some experience that they've held on to that they thought was a part of them, but it doesn't need to be.
Yeah, it doesn't have to define you, as it were. You don't have to be defined by a feeling that you have. You can have a feeling without being, for instance, you can be a person who has anger or has been angry, but doesn't make you an angry person, because you're not defined by a single feeling. You have a range of feelings, a full spectrum of feelings.
But we have, when we're whole, we can better manage those emotions. It's like the child that grows up in a loving environment knows what it is to be accepted and doesn't accept anything else. And they, if they feel that they're not accepted in some place, then they go elsewhere. Whereas the people that are injured will stick around those places where they're in, they continually experience more injury. And so it's just sort of learning and allowing yourself to become whole. And when you become whole, you understand that you are loved just as you are, in your full expression of who you are. And that there are no one is perfect. It's just that we compare ourselves to, being able to do this or that, or, how smart we are, how talented we are, how socially, how well we excel on a social level. All these different things that we measure things by according to others, instead of just saying we accept ourselves for who we are, and that we attract those who accept us for who we are also. So when you're talking about some of the stuff that I talk about, which is pretty much considered out there for many, but for others, the first challenge I had was, do I accept myself for who I am in all this strangeness that I bring in, and attract those people, the wonderful people that, find it interesting the information that I'm sharing, but they're like little gems of beautiful stuff, but they're not typical. So, and you likewise, JP, I'm sure, as you begin to share some of your stuff and, creating and working on this network and, taking it over from Dave Corso brought a certain element, an interesting element that was very, very, ahead of its time. But you came in with a whole different energy. And neither one is better than the other, but both bringing in and carrying through the mission. The mission sometimes has to go in a different direction, slightly. But, it being, kind of out of the box, as you are, and look at how wonderful it's been that you had the confidence to share that. And so it's the same way for many, that people, when they begin to express and be who they are in the fullness of who they are and feeling whole, confident to do so, we'll see the world change. Because we have a lot of those that are copying and mimicking and trying to fit in to a construct and a model, set usually by the cabal or someone that's emulating the corporate world. And that doesn't reflect on the individual expressions, stifles it. So we're completely out of the box here and encouraging others to do so. And I'll tell you, this world's going to be amazing when we have all these different contrasts of expressions.
So, shall we move to the transmissions? Where should we go first?
Let's see. I think let's go with Rhodan.
Hang on a second. Okay, here we go. Everything is just a shade of sepia. The residue of the darkness once lifted from your realities. There are many who contributed to the darkness and rebellions upon the earth. I have revealed them to you. I am happy to proclaim the end of the reign of Mephistopheles. Mephistopheles, as revealed by Faust, was in fact one of the shining ones, or as you understand, an angel to be. In the advent of Michael's reign and oppression, many began to slip away and even rebel his oppression. He stood as a star in the night, hidden without sound. Some perceived Mephistopheles to be dead. He stood dormant for many hours, many days, many years, many light years. But it was all an illusion. Pasted white and bright sound on the shimmering top or apex of the horizon. I said to him, I know you, and you are not sound. You are not Abel or Cain. You are not Lucifer or one of the children of the prisoners of Saturn. I said to him, though you have no sound, I still hear you speak. You speak with a guttural tone. You yell with a piercing shriek. Your voice is muffled in pain. I know Michael tortured you, as he did many others. But one does not justify the other. You had the opportunity to overtake him. When that opportunity arose, you chose not to. Instead, you behaved similarly like him, with the oppression of others in insurmountable levels. Many look for humans who are evil, who are mere shells, empty voids of nothing with abandoned souls. In fact, they don't look beyond the body and see it as beings like you who cut the sun from the earth, who creates friction in the field of emotions, who breaks down communication of kindness. You were not the master of warfare, that is a fact. We know Michael loved war more than all of you. You were the master of emotional pain and cruelty, unnecessary sadness and isolation. You reigned to uphold your desire to make others suffer because of what Michael did to you. I say, it shall not be any more. I regret not removing your stronghold much sooner. because it prevented others from seeking the good, because you truly convinced them that there was nothing good left. How many have you convinced many young ones to give up, to not desire to live beyond their young ages, to actually believe that there was nothing to live for? So they filled their lives with self-destruction, finding all the temptations and behaviors that led to a quick end. Mephistopheles, your reign is no more. The door is now closed to you. You will find yourself unawakened, reborn without power, and in an environment with many of the young humans you had manipulated. You will hear over and again why they suffered, and you will be required to help each and every one of them before you can go free. This will be thousands upon thousands on the earth. Your friends will not find you because they too will be required to help others whom they had harmed, and so on. Let this be a law both above and below for all those who have violated humanity. Thus, it is so.
And then I watched Mephistopheles fall to the ground. His pinnacle in the sky became black, like a black hole, and all those who desired to fill that space again would find themselves pulled in by the black hole. I was grateful his reign was over, but thought how many others did Michael torture and what else was ahead for us.
Alright, so, Satan. Mephistopheles,
Satan,
Lucifer.
Well, he wasn't Lucifer, and he said that he wasn't Lucifer. Lucifer is another being, and Lucifer is blamed for a lot of stuff that I don't think he did. And I'm not being one of those like, hey, sympathy for the devil type of thing, but let the truth be known that there were many that have caused problems on the planet. And as you go through the transmissions, you're seeing that there were many different ones that have caused pain, like Cain. Like, who would have thought that Cain caused pain besides just, beyond Abel? But he did. And he was aligned with the Maximus Rufus or the Rev 1. Then what a lot of people don't realize is the word Satan sounds like Saturn. And Saturn was a prison, and many of the Saturn beings actually escaped. And so then we have many quote-unquote Satans then, criminals. So when people say there's one, and maybe it's a system, maybe it's a Saturn system, but there have been many, and including Marduk is another one, who has created a lot of pain and sorrow for humanity. Now humans were here, supposed to experience certain things, but then some of the things became above and beyond what it should have been. And so that's why these beings are carefully being picked out and pulled away, and they're not human at all. So now, the question of this whole, we can go into this whole Christ Antichrist scenario that the Cabal wants to bring in, but that's really for total control of a one world order, where they kind of desensitize humans and bring them into a place of full submission through, financial means and so forth. And that's something that is orchestrated by governments. But what we're talking here is these are literal beings that are being pulled away. Now, some of them came from Saturn. Now, in this case, Mephistopheles he was from the angelic realm. And when the angels had their little conflict, Michael was the more powerful one. And he was very different. He was very harsh to some of the others, including people know my situation as I was Ariel, that he gave me a hard time as well throughout times. Kind of, I would say he's like a bully, but people don't ever see that in him. They see him as a hero and a protector. And I don't want to dash anyone's bubble, but there's more than people realize in some of the things that he's done. But that's another conversation too. So Let's move on to Andrew.
Okay. I've seen the light of day. There is hope for us. Something wonderful has changed. The dark ages of time are lifting. You have recovered something in time, haven't you? It was something that was blurred in my vision. I could feel it. I could sense it. I could smell it in the air. And then I could finally see it. The quasar has changed directions, hasn't he? He was much more dismal before. I saw him looking for flowers recently. Now that is a change. He exited from the caverns, the caves, and the dark, dusty places. I know he enjoyed the desert, the dry, warm air, the absence of water, and the never-ending sunshine. He loves the light and is quite put off to venture into the darkness. Tell me, have you spoken to him recently?
No, I haven't seen him for a very long time, really. Although, you and I haven't spoken in a long time either. You come and go, like a floating cloud, it seems to me.
I come and go as I please, this is true. I am watching you always because I know what happens around you. However, the removal of some of the darkness, well, this is something new. It didn't play out in an expected manner as before.
I don't know how things have changed. I can't see as you do. You know, the greater perspective and the further expansion into the future.
The future is changing like never before. There were breaks in time from the foolish creatures with robotic parts. They kept breaking the time stream because they had malfunctions in their programming. We had to do something about that. Some believed if they became robotic they would be invincible. There's nothing further from the truth. For example, there is no machine built more amazing than the human body. Anything man-made is far more inferior. Why is it that humans watch how the machines break down, have glitches, are affected by magnetics, solar light waves, other machinery, etc., and don't consider that all of these elements would affect their robotic bodies as well? It is the most absurd plan of humanity. As soon as one changes the body part, particularly the brain functions, to a robotic part, they have lost control of the soul essence. The soul essence cannot be sustained by what is not organic matter, true organic matter that was part of the human construction.
I do know that humans exist in some form with cyborg bodies.
Yeah, they may appear to be human, but they're actually prototypes. This is a fact that they are aware of, but they would never tell humans. They want humans to forfeit their existence on the earth so they can return to a full slave system where they're the only ones aware of the truth. Then, through manipulation, they will have humans working 19 or more hour days. Since they are absent of the emotions that humans after the change, they will not rebel. Rebellion will no longer be part of their construct because it will not be programmed in. Many attributes will be slowly, gradually, and most effectively removed before the human race disappears. This is their plan. You might say, whose plan is this? Well, it's not other humans as you suppose. They worked on these humans who have a fear of the future, who think they cannot survive unless things are changed. The entities tell them that they have no value. But humans, why do you not see you are as the divine source of light? That your candle of existence never burns out. That you are supported and here to thrive naturally as you were created in the most magnificently advanced vessel, your body, as you were created. Let the robots go to robots for advice. Let the unlimited thinkers of truth stretch beyond space and time and evolve to what you dream to be. There are no shortcuts, as you are being told. You have the light. Live in it. Don't try to change what is perfect for a cheaper, less effective model of a vessel. You are not to be tin cans or scrap metal. You are to be an essence, an extension of the planet, made of the same minerals and elements that you live within. The earth was created for you. You were created for the earth. Blessed be humanity, for you are a divine and lovely expression of life. If I can extend these truths to you, then I will feel that part of my mission is complete.
I thought that was a beautiful message.
There we go. Not tin cans or scrap metal.
Right. What he's saying is, you know, everyone thinks that it'll be more advanced if we turn everything into robotics. And he's like, well, you look at your machinery and how it breaks down over the simplest things. Well, why would you think that it would, your own body wouldn't break down, you know, from those little glitches that we experience with our computers? There's nothing foolproof, especially if they're working through satellite for some of this stuff. You know, our communication, our computers, and a lot of our technology, but all of them have glitches, don't they?
Never rely on technology.
Right. So, you know, the body has more fail-safes, is more adaptable to what the earth is supposed to do. And plus we're unlimited in some ways that they still haven't even figured, and the brain alone is so far advanced. How could we think to, you know, outdo what's already been done? We don't fully even understand how things operate in our body. I mean, the ghost in the machine. That's what they call it. Because they haven't figured out how the brain works fully. They haven't figured out how the DNA works. And the will of humanity to survive has kind of extended in a way beyond what they imagined. And they still, you know, we've not been pressed to a point of even going, you know, to our full potential, I don't believe. So, this whole thing, he's saying, is based on fear. That we're not going to thrive. But there is an insidious agenda behind it all, where they want to take humans down the road of robotics, and it will make it easier for them to program. It's hard for them to program humanity. You know, even if they put in mind control elements, there's a portion of, you know, that rebellion or the desire for free will and sovereignty, because it always remains the truth. It's always something that they know and understand. And similarly, the Andromedans also, you know, had talked about and experienced these things where, you know, when they were held there by the Vinkala under strong mind control in the very, very beginning of the Andronicus transmissions. And you see them fighting on the inside, knowing that they don't need to be there, that they can rise above it, they can go past it. And they're teaching us that we should never just become a number. We should always hold on to our individuality. And it doesn't matter. You know, all of us have to speak up for sovereignty right now. And I'm gonna tell a little funny story, that relates to this. And I had a discussion with a friend, and I call it the Twinkie theory. And for those Americans, you know what I'm talking about when I mention a Twinkie.
What's a Twinkie?
A Twinkie is a fun little, like, golden cake that's filled with cream. And, you know, you have Hostess cupcakes, the devil dogs, you know, all those little fun snacks that we used to have when we were kids. Right? So I'm dating myself. And I mean, the Hostess cupcakes were like the best thing. I mean, that was a little treat that you'd get, and, you know, everyone went crazy over it. And then, you know, of course, different generations have different preferences, but I think it was probably about 4 years ago that they said, well, you know, no one's really buying Twinkies anymore. And the whole country went up in an uproar. You know, this whole generation that remembered Twinkies as a kid. And they went to the grocery store and started buying out the remainder of what was left on the shelves. And so my friend said to me, well, that's interesting. They say you take Twinkies away and everyone in the U.S. is up in arms. I said, but when they take away freedoms, what do people do?
They
hardly anything. Yeah. So, it just goes to show that, we need to wake up. I think our lives are more valuable than the Twinkie. But it's funny how, people hold on to some things, that are not as important and have care very little about the things that are very important. It's almost like our perspective is completely off. And anyhow.
So, Twinkies. Yes. Don't take away the Twinkies.
Don't take away the Twinkies, but take away our freedoms. But if you live, I live close enough to New Hampshire in the U.S. where it's a live free or die state. And they too, I don't know, they, don't tread on me, and they have all that other stuff. And yeah, they're talking about 1776 and, supposedly our independence. But what's funny, because Massachusetts was supposed to have been freed of, the whole fight over the Tea Party was to alleviate taxes, and it's probably the highest taxed state in the country. So something went wrong. Something went very wrong. And we need to really, focus on the things that are more important. And if I have to remind people of the Twinkie story, I will again.
So
anyhow.
Twinkies.
Twinkies. We're gonna have a little message here from Meetis. And we're going to learn something new today, too. I think you can appreciate this. A little bit of insight.
Did you say Meetis?
I don't know if you need a guitar. Yeah, we're going to Meetis next. You're going to need your guitar.
As always. So. Hello, love. What brings you here? I can see you in my hiding place so clearly. You came to my wonderland full of flowers, fruit trees, melodies, sunshines, green thistle, yellow flowers, white flowers, purple, red and rainbow colours. You know you will like the flowers here. They don't have these flowers on the earth yet. Wonderful. You are in a heaven. It is wonderful, isn't it? I come here when I need to cheer up a bit because life brings me down. I don't like to be solitary. I want to be with others, but when I come here, I have many friends. Many, many friends here, but they are not human. But don't tell them so. They think they are disguised, and I don't see the difference.
If they are not human, then who are they?
The magical beings that live here. They are quite silly and try very hard to prove that they are like me. I hear them adjusting their voices and the way they speak to mimic me. Imagine, they try that hard to get to know me and communicate with me. I think they're adorable. They lower their voices to talk and try to make similar expressions like I do.
Are they chameleons?
No, nothing like that. They're sort of humanoid, like what you call dwarves maybe, or little people or fairies, but bigger. They don't actually look humanoid, but can be a little strange looking for a human to see. But for me, I like them as they are, but they are convinced I like them to look more human. They think it will make me feel more comfortable.
Do you think it makes you feel more comfortable there, or it doesn't matter?
Well, it takes the edge off waking up in the middle of the night and seeing them as they are. It can be a bit unnerving, if you know what I mean. Oh, do you know Keltay from the land of the wizards?
Yes, but he doesn't understand me, and I don't understand him. Only Bartholomew talks to me, and then I can figure it out, what he's saying, according to their conversation.
Keltay is one of my friends. He is there to help Bartholomew, but Bartholomew doesn't always listen to him, unless nothing else is working. On occasion, he comes to see me here.
Are you saying Keltay is one of them? The little people there in the spring court?
Yes, he is, but I was looking for the right opportunity to tell Bartholomew about Keltay. He just thinks he's short.
Okay, so he knows the truth now.
Yes, he knows the truth now and will understand that Keltay is there to help him. Keltay has thousands of children and likes to come and see them here and on Earth. But watch out for him, he's a trickster.
Oh, so he's a leprechaun. I saw him once on a friend's shoulder, and now I can see him.
I don't think he likes being called that because he wants to be respected. You know, what they say about short people having the Napoleon complex.
Oh, yes, I do for sure. So he's a bit sensitive about his height. I can see where the magic comes from also.
Well, we don't discuss height here. It's a topic that's never mentioned for obvious reasons.
Can you tell me, was Napoleon one of those little people?
Unfortunately, yes, and he was one of the little people who created a lot of chaos on your planet.
So that is the reason why he was so offended by remarks regarding his size.
He didn't fully see himself as one of the leprechauns and demanded respect, as they often do.
Was he an incarnated human or a walk-in?
More like a walk-in, but equally dangerous if provoked. You could see what happened because of it. That was about the time when many of the wars began here in the Spring Court. You saw what happened in the Summer and Winter Court. Now you're hearing about the Spring Court, like Avalon. They never learn to leave these beings alone. They can create havoc and turn the world upside down if they want to. It has all to do with the attacks by the Christos in the gates. When they did that, the little people wanted to take back what was taken and then turned it into a battle. I know for many of you this sounds ridiculous, but it's true. Fact is stranger than fiction. Every power you have encountered on your planet has derived from another place. You saw what you encountered at Waterloo. That is where the others stopped him before he got all of them in trouble.
But Napoleon still hadn't learned. He demanded his own timeline.
Oh, he became a bit addicted to the power. We're sending all the creatures back to him and he will have to sort it out. We won't let him make a mess of the planet and then have to fix it all. We'll allow him to play out his battles, his romances and other strange behaviours, frustrations, on another timeline, just for him. It won't affect the humans, just his people and his opponents. The Christos, and there you have it. Everyone will be happy to do what they wanted to do in the end.
Alright, so this is a good thing?
Very much so.
Will Kelty be joining them?
Yes, and many of the wizards as well. They don't want their worlds intruded again. I suppose you know that the Christos were not the only ones that were involved.
Oh, I know. There were many others like the Dracos, etc.
Yes, and it is this Sunday, your time, when it will begin. You may feel some effects of it, but it will all be sorted out soon. On a lighter note, how about a song? Just get it on one page. Oh, it's a long one.
Other sound effect.
Tricks and trolleys, toys and hollies, spring is about to bloom. The sun will shine, it'll be sublime when the earth is free of the raccoon. It's not the animal, but the behavior of the criminal who thought that they could steal from the troop. It is in their folly to think they could overtake their bounty and instead will fly the chicken coop. I see red in their eyes, why is it not a surprise? They are infested all by the goo. It is sad to see how it breaks up harmony and turns life into a real zoo. Why is it no surprise? No.
So So I'll sit back and watch.
Yeah. Hang on, I've got to retune. So I'll sit back and watch, see the clock go tick-tock, and off I'll drift into sleep. Because as time moves on further, we'll see things much better, and the earth will release the best wave, to their folly. They will not be so jolly, mounty men of the powers will spend. The days will be bleak, they underestimated the weak, and they know that much change will give way, la 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 la. The little people are here to stay, no more trouble will be near them today. They will take back the time, la 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 la. La 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 la. Recovering all that they find. Recovering all that they find. That is the end of their line.
All right.
There we go.
Bravo.
Simple as ever.
Awesome. Yeah, each song you do completely different. It's amazing.
I'm sure there's repeats somewhere.
Little, you know, the little nuances, but that's the way bands are, though. They usually have their own kind of thing. So, off to Garyland now.
Let's grab the plastic megaphone and engage the transceiver.
Hello. You've been talking to my friends. Why do you smile so much? It makes them uncomfortable.
Gary, I'm just being myself, and if I smile, it means something friendly, like I'm enjoying the conversation.
You think I'm funny? You laugh out loud, and I feel very strange when you do that. Almost like ice cream and lemonade. Fizzy bubbles inside, yes.
I never heard that explanation before. I would like to think that combination doesn't go very well.
Yes, well, it's the only way I can describe it. Sort of like an uncomfortable feeling like my skin is inside out. You know what I mean?
I'm getting the feeling that you don't like it when I laugh. Like it makes you unhappy?
No, it just creates wrinkles on my forehead. Sort of like I'm floating and then I crash hard like an airplane crash.
Really? Okay, I guess I shouldn't laugh then.
Oh no, please do.
But you just said it's a bad thing.
I never said that. Really, it is pleasant and startling. Is that the right word? I feel in shock like a cannon fell on my head.
Gary, I'm getting concerned, but at the same time I'm trying not to laugh.
It's like syrup on string beans, a little granular like unmelted sugar, gritty.
Okay, Gary, maybe we should change the subject.
Why? Does it make you feel uncomfortable?
Yes, it does.
Success! Now you know how I feel. Finally. Earth to Jessica, come in.
All right, Gary, all right. I will never laugh around you again.
Oh, please do. I'm just trying to zap you a bit with my funny talk. I'm very good at it, actually. I'm quite debonair. I'm quite witty. You should see me all cleaned up. My head is as shiny as a cue ball. Or a bowling ball. You like bowling? Yes. In the hook, you can drop all the pins down. I'm very good at that as well.
It sounds like you enjoy the simple things, Gary, not to get caught up with the upper echelon and more like the average guy.
That's right. And I enjoy playing tennis.
Really? I didn't know immersers play tennis.
Why not? You know we think we are nothing. You think we are nothing but a stick in the mud. I'll let you know I'm quite limber, and when I want to, I can perform quite well as an athlete. I can even run faster than the normal human. You need a slow camera to see me running.
Is it because everything is slower here and you can move easier, or does it have something to do with about you being lighter?
We are higher dimensional and can move much quicker. Like my mind, it's as quick as a whip. I can multitask my thoughts, conversations and memories. One day I'll show you how to do that. Did you see the daffodils recently? The hyacinths? Yes, it's about that time. Did you want to go through the spring court? I know where it is. You must be careful and not trip over the frogs on the way up. If you get past the frogs, you will enjoy the spring blossoms, really. It's quite lovely this time of year. I always say, take the time to smell the roses. Or the tulips, or, la la la, as your friend would say. Well, bye for now, Earthlings. Keep your umbrellas nearby. We're in for some showers.
Wow. Must be a very strange interaction. This is you have this conversation with him, right? It's like a...
Yes. Yes, I do. It's like, he just has his own personality in the way he says things, but all of them do. So does Meetis, so does Rhodan. They're really... But Gary, I don't know what to do with. He'll say something and then he throws me a curve. I never know where it's going. And I remember someone called me today and they said, they want to talk. And I said, well, I just want to know what's going to happen. And Gary's talking to me right now. I want to know where this is going. So it gets very, very silly.
So, that's it, isn't it?
Pretty much.
No, that's just that's it for the things. So let's play a quick tune, and then we'll bring our guest in, and
Peter the Insider.
So we'll just play the both of them, the Rabbit Hole.
Sure, we had the Rabbit Hole from Brian Sundom and Brian and Melinda, my friends, the dude and the dudette. And then we have a song from Come Together of the Beatles. And by that time, we should be joined here with Peter on the second hour.
Okay. Stand by, everybody. now.
Okay, we're back for the second hour of Answers from the Universe, the Andronicus Transmissions, and we have Peter the Insider here with us today. Hello, Peter. How are you today?
Hello. Considering all the crazy circumstances, good. Thank you for asking.
Well, thanks for joining us to update us on what's going on. I like to keep everyone updated what's going on with the ACIO and some of the information, things that are happening on the planet right now. So where should we begin? We started with a few different topics. So where would you like to begin, Peter?
Many crazy stuff is going on, and to be perfectly honest, I don't know where exactly should we start, but chronologically,
you want to start with Monarch and talk about the children that were freed from a very terrible situation.
Yeah, you were right. So they are not children anymore, but they were children. So first things first. I know that Monarch Solutions and Umbrella Incorporated, what are two private corporations, as one of the largest DoD, what's Department of Defense of US contractors. They built a lot of underground DUMB, what's like deep underground military bases in Central, respectively, Central Eastern Europe. What's like also called V4. It's like Czech, Slovak Republic, Poland, and Hungary. And they kept there for very, very long time children. They were kidnapped from US and Canada at the age of 6, but technically it's extremely, on their birth death certificate it was like from 1980 maybe to 1990, 1992, something like that. 1994, as I can remember, or 5, as I can remember the youngest. but in their cases, it's extremely hard to determine the real age because they were re-aged and all kind of the stuff. And they were regularly heavily overdosed by extremely dangerous drug named cortaxiphen, and there were many crazy experiments make on them, respectively tests with them, and they were freed on what it was like Wednesday, am I right? Wednesday 21st February, yeah, it was on Wednesday, February this year, and it wasn't coincidence, because coincidences doesn't exist. When it's the same day that this group, it's like 20 of a group of 20 young people, when they were freed, that on the same day, young investigative journalist Jan Kuciak, what is like John Cusiak in English language, I pronounced it in my mother tongue, my mother language, Slovak language, and he was murdered at this day because he was our cooperative in the terrain. Our organization, ACIO, right? And he was working on some investigative reportages about connection of politicians and oligarchs to mafia and all kind of stuff, but it was only some sort of cover job, because he was, as I mentioned, he was working for us, and he was up to blow the huge thing out, huge, because he collected tons of material. I mean, like I don't know, like hundreds of thousands photos, hundreds of hours of video footage, of documentation of Umbrella and Monarch in the Middle Europe. And I was like, John, are you serious? This can't get to local mainstream. I mean, they will not get it. They will not accept that. And he was like, no, this is not the final outcome. I am up for the largest one. And once he told me this, in the same day he was killed. So not a coincidence. And in the same day, this group of 20 young people were freed. And they started to contacted me, and how can I say that, told me, even for my taste, like, what the heck things, I mean, like, extremely, how can I say that, crazy ass stuff. I was like, are you serious? But afterwards, because it's like, what? It's like almost 5 weeks. And I was like, okay. And they, I mean, their stories suddenly started to make some solid sense, and they gave me also solid, I mean, like, physical evidence. So I was like, okay, this is serious. And their stories are, how can I say that, like, sensitive. I mean, like, very bad, you know. Jessica, you can confirm, am I right?
Yeah, well, so essentially what you're sharing with everyone is that these children were, first of all, they were abducted from the U.S. and Canada. They were they were heavily drugged. The children were gifted, and so they used the children to use them to psychically be able to give them information and control them, and then they used them in pornography.
Yeah, technically.
Horrendous crimes.
Yeah.
And so,
because, yeah, you are absolutely right, because they want to break the psyche, and they did like some craziest stuff I don't want to talk about publicly. And
right.
afterwards, they came these special army trucks with water guns. I mean, freezingly cold water, high pressure, you know. They call it like, they wash us because we were dirty and all kind of stuff. And afterwards, they were immediately teleported to some weird sort of war scene or something like that. And they were forced to shoot at young children. Two groups of people. They were not able to defend themselves. Young children, small children respectively, and old people. And once they once they resist, these young people will resist, they simply don't want to shoot at these people, they were teleported to what? Like some sort of molesting room, if you want to call it that way. And they were like waterboard, or they used some extremely weird as CAD machines, but all of this wasn't for real. It was some imaginary dream world, very similar like in a movie Inception, but this sort of what it was like this sort of, how can we call it? Like, what?
Well, they use the dream world.
Yeah, but they use this dream world in some specific sort of, what? How can we call it?
Torture chamber?
Suggestion. So they were so suggesting that these scars get real because of psychosomatic stuff,
right.
if you wanna call it that way.
Yeah.
So then, when they woke up from this weird dream, if you want, nightmare at least.
Dream. Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't a dream. It was modeled reality. So once they woke up to our reality, the scars was real. They believed it so much. And these people now are freed for more than 1 month, and they are doing very good stuff for all of us. Am I right?
Absolutely, and I've been communicating with them personally to try to help them get through some of their trauma. And we started off talking about trauma in the show, and everyone goes through various levels, but there are some that are being used by the corporations to manipulate and harm humanity. They're brainwashing them. They're heavily drugging them, and the drug of choice is this cortexipam. And not only was it used for these children who are now adults, as you say, and the advanced technology and the things that they were been able to get away with is just astounding. But that drug is now on the streets. And
yeah, that's a problem. That's
right.
a problem.
And so then you had also informed me that this drug is also influential in causing some of these crimes, where some of these kids are picking up guns and kind of doing things that they wouldn't normally do because they're putting it in the vaccines. Is that correct?
Yeah, you are absolutely right. So once you wanna be clear or stay your children clear, if you wanna, or sober, if you wanna call it that way, definitely don't go for a vaccination.
And the problem is sometimes they won't even allow you in the schools unless you're vaccinated. I know how the U.S. is. You can't sign the kids up for sports. You can't do anything with them. You can't even have them in the school. They'll feel that the kids will be contained. The teachers and the system thinks that it's extreme that you're staying away from vaccines, but in fact that they're putting all this stuff in the vaccines. And parents that are aware want to keep their children from that, but the system is so bound by it, even all of these flu shots and craziness where people think that they have to get it immunized, but they don't know what's actually in there.
Yeah, you are absolutely right, because these people, especially we can talk about them, because, I mean, many people don't believe that. It's okay, believe it or not, it's not my concern. Monarch was mentioned in a video game, sci-fi type of Quantum Break, and all these people we are talking about now were mentioned in another total different type of game called Life is Strange, what is like some sort of telltale game made by Square Enix. Was like tons of different endings. You can get tons of different endings by you can go to them by different choices, right? So the fact is that these people were mentioned there in Life is Strange, and we can I mean, like, I've got a list, full complete list, but at least we can talk about Maxine Caulfield, right? Because she's some sort of leader, if you wanna call it that way. Am I right?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, and she described me like a tremendous, I mean, like horrible things they they from Monarch, they did to them, and I was like, what the heck, are you serious? I mean, it was way much over the line, even for me, and I can't be scared just by something, it's like, what the heck, seriously? It's like...
This is huge disclosure for what's going on with the corporations. And I talked to Maxine because I was just out driving yesterday, and she said something about the umbrella group trying to shoot something at her. And I said, because they want them to stay addicted to the cortexiphan. And if they keep them addicted to it, then they can still manipulate their minds. And they're trying to do that with the kids and, other children too, that are not necessarily under the direct control of Monarch, but they're trying to gain control.
Sorry for interrupting you. Just by the way, Monarch and Umbrella are very closely cooperating, because I was talking about Monarch and now you are talking about Umbrella. So for people, for listeners, not to be confused, okay? It needs some clarification. Sorry for interrupting you.
Yeah, and I brought it up because even though Monarch was the one that gave them the cortexiphan, it was the Umbrella group, from what I learned from Maxine, that tried to shoot at them to try to keep them addicted to the cortexiphan. And yesterday when I was driving in the car, something hit the windshield very quickly and actually put a divot in the windshield. And she asked me, she said, did they shoot at you? And I said, yeah, I know exactly, because it was like right at me right by my right arm. Exactly where she said it. So they're these I call them children, but they're not children. They're young adults, and they're highly psychic. They were completely used and manipulated for whatever cause this was, for whatever their agendas were. But it's a huge violation of humanity, to abduct children, to take them for this use, and also to try to integrate into the mainstream of the population and start bringing in this artificial drug that's highly dangerous. And I have a friend that lives in California, works in a drug rehab place, and she said that recently they just brought up about this drug on the streets. They actually had a SWAT team show up at her facility and talk to her about it. So I have a strong confirmation, and one of these days maybe I can bring her in and she can testify that this drug is now on the street, and people are thinking that it's heroin, but it's actually this drug in particular, and people are dying because they don't know what it is.
Yes, because they how can I say that? It's something new, and they are very curious. Whoa, what the heck is that? And they are overdosing themselves because they are thinking, they believe that it's, like cocaine or heroin or something like that, and they can give themselves also called normal shoot, not only just very small one, very tiny one. And once they get also called normal shoot, but bam, they are out. They are like gone.
Right.
Am I right?
Yeah, that's exactly what's happening. And I really wish people would just break free from these habits, drug habits, because they don't know. Even marijuana, from what I've learned, that they're putting other stuff in there, especially now that, it sounds like a good thing that they're legalizing it, but that also gives them the ability to alter it. Just keep that.
And can you say what they did, what they get it from? Just, with saving ya?
No, why don't you tell, because I don't know. But I know they put...
Okay, so technically, Maxine told me that, she made some sort of clone or multi-location or something, and because they can see time like very fast, respectively very slow. And she made this life shield, something like that, and she was hit by this sort of bullet or something like that.
Yeah.
Instead of you, I mean Jessica, right? And it was very beneficial because they can make this virus. It was Uroboros virus, just by the way.
Yeah, that's what she said.
Yeah, and you can continue with the story.
No, she said that she protected me when she put that shield up, and I mean, I feel connected to her and the others, and my question, and we don't have, I just feel like I'm connected to them, and I know that they've used my DNA has been used in the past, so just feeling very like, I have others that I'm connected to out there, and my feelings are that I'm connected to these young adults, potentially that way.
Yep, and this is it. She told me that with the sample of this Uroboros, they can make much more stable antidote for cortexifen, and they are feeling much better, right?
Right, and that's what we want. We want a recovery, and also that they're going to contribute to the disclosure of helping us to understand what's been going on behind the scenes. And this is dangerous for those that want to continue on this agenda and those that want to talk about it. And along these lines, there was someone that has by the name of Kevin that had threatened me threatened to kill me because I've been bringing in disclosure. And this is what's happening is
Sorry for interrupting, but it's another positive confirmation that your disclosure is, like real. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Because once you will be spreading some bullshits only, random bullshits only, I don't wanna, be mean on you, there will be no people trying to kill you, and threaten you, but once they are, it's another confirmation that you are not telling bullshits to people.
Right. And I have no reason to, and that was the primary reason I tell people why I went public in the first place, is because I did feel threatened, even though no one told me that I could sense it, that if I didn't come forward and share with, information that I have, that it would put me more at risk. So by everyone, publicly letting people know some of the information, pieces of, facts that I know about, and I'm trying to let people know how different species are being removed or whatever. Some of them are not reacting well. And so now it's the 12D Pleiadian, have threatened me. And also this, this Kevin, who is from is it like a military group?
It's once we wanna be exact, right? It's MIA, like military intelligence agency, right? Respectively, military intelligence corps. So it's like MIC, right? But it's pretty much, I don't want to say pretty much the same, because it's not the same, of course, but they are very close. Each other, they are very close, like mutually close.
And I had been traveling, to kind of move out of my situation, which my living situation was disrupted. Landlord was definitely psychologically manipulated, and there was definitely some things going on. So I've been, moving around, and I just found out that I was followed. So, but I don't feel like I'm not safe, but I just, it's one of those things where it's a little bit frustrating, but I still, on the other hand, I think I'm safer by sharing and telling everyone what's going on. And I think in the end, I feel that I'm protected and there's a purpose for me to be here. So, it's good. But it's also these young adults, they want to come forward, but they have to be very careful. Monarch does not want them to, expose some of the things that have been going on. At some point, a lot of this stuff's going to come crashing down. And,
Yes, and sorry for interrupting, yeah, but the stuff is like, how can I say that? From my point of view, I can accept, but from point of view of common, normal people, they are behaving extremely paranoid, right? Because they are like, oh, no, microphones, no cameras, no nothing. They are just typing, right? And yeah, it is like, it's paranoid, but given the circumstances, what they went through, I can accept that.
Right, and it's a lot. We feel like the whole Big Brother thing is very real, and we do feel like we're being monitored more and more. But I think this is the very thing that we're trying to break down, and we can't break it down if people are not taking our information serious, and they're not really considering that there are those out there that are kind of putting themselves on the line, like rescuing others. Like I know that James Rink, his avatar and the connection and the work that he does, he's working as a super soldier, and currently now, and so working with some of these others that you were talking about.
Yes, you are right.
So people are starting to get rescued, I think, which is a positive thing. But it's good for people to know, what is going on, and not to have any fear. Because if I'm not afraid, then I don't want anyone else to have fear. And I know that we have a higher purpose here, and so that a lot of the system is going to break down.
Yes, you are right. But technically, we don't. We both of us, myself and you, we are not in fear, and we don't want to spread a fear.
Right.
On one hand, but we want to know, respectively, to spread the knowledge what the heck is going on all around the world, because both of us, we think that people should, respectively, people deserve to know that truth. Because, for example, there are extreme amount of anomalies. For example, like train TGV was like train à vitesse in French, what is like this high-speed trains in France. It entered the tunnel and bam, just like nothing. And once it went out of the tunnel, it appeared out of nowhere in Norway. It was like, what the heck is going on here? Another example, regular line from Singapore, airplane, what should land in here in Land Down Under in Australia, in Melbourne, and like nothing, bam, and it landed in Sao Paulo. Sao Paulo, it's like Sao Paulo in Portuguese, in Brazil. And I was like, what the heck is going on here? For example, these cars, they were entering the tunnel in what this was like Angolan and Zaire border, and they appeared in Southern Europe. For example, this latest news, if you want to call it that way, that the whole African continent is tearing apart to west and east Africa, if you want to call it that way, and all kind of this stuff. They are and last but not least, that there are so many spots, and they are even getting more and more of them. You can go, and it doesn't matter if normal, I mean like mechanical watches or some digital ones, the time is getting extremely slow in the one hand, and in the another spots very fast on the another hand. So they are structural weaknesses of space and time, because this is it what's like, you know, the basic information what these young adults freed from monarch slavery, what they are what they were and what they are still are telling to me. There are structural weaknesses of time and space, and they told me that all of this is monarch's fault, you know. And they told me that this young group of young people, they took the CERN over, because CERN was like huge. CERN in Switzerland, it was one huge toy of monarch, and they are trying to stop the oscillator. Oscillator is one huge facility in
East
North.
Coast.
Sorry?
In the East Coast, right? The northern East?
Yeah, I don't want to say East Coast. It's like northeast of US, but it isn't on East Coast.
Right.
It's like in what?
By the
like
lakes.
Wisconsin, Indiana, Ohio,
Yeah.
and all kind of these states. So
Yeah.
it's like on US-Canadian border, not so far from Great Lakes, because they need extremely crazy amounts of water, fresh water.
All right, so this is the oscillator that's connected to CERN, but you just said that the young adults took over CERN, and recently there was that anomaly that happened there. People were wondering what happened there. And these were from these children that were mistreated from Monarch actually used their abilities. They wanted to make things, they wanted to help, and they took over CERN. Is that correct?
Yeah, you are absolutely right.
So which means what, Peter? That things are getting back into the right hands?
I don't want to say that this can be fully repaired, but it will be but it will be perfectly fine, perfectly clear, in new dimension, which will be transformed to in 2022.
That's amazing. Well, it's the right, we're going in the right direction, but we still have this oscillator that needs to be shut down because...
Yeah, but technically, I mean, you are right and you are wrong in the same time. Do you know why? Because the oscillator is useless without CERN. So once they are not in charge, once Monarch is no longer in charge of CERN, the oscillator is pretty much useless for him, right?
Right. Excellent. And now, tell us what's going on, because I knew before I talked to you that the gamma ray, that whole phenomena, people are thinking this is a rescue mission or something's going to happen here, but this gamma ray that's coming in, what is the cause of it? This has to do with Monarch, is that correct?
Which gamma ray especially are you talking about?
The one that's happening right around now. There was some, expecting a big gamma ray that was supposed to come in, and then that was supposed to rescue, the spaceships were going to come in and rescue people and all this other stuff, and I never felt that was correct.
Nope, it is not correct, because technically there are no ships and no the gamma ray at all.
Okay. All right.
But, these gamma rays, because how can I say that? It's like cholesterol, right? It's like, how can I say that? Good cholesterol and bad cholesterol. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
And this is something like that, because 95, maybe 98, 99% people believe that it's one gamma ray and stop. Bye-bye. End of discussion. No, it's not true. Because gamma rays are like good ones and bad ones. That's the parallel with cholesterol, right? So once these ships will enter the Earth atmosphere, they will spread the also called good gamma rays, and that will be fine.
Right. Okay. I don't know if you're finished on this topic, or do you want to bring in something else?
I think that we are okay for now.
Okay. All right. Because I asked you about what's going on with this Prince Harry and because originally I believe that they expected William to be the one to be the ruler, but there's another agenda that I think was coming up.
Yes, but that's my question. If it's safe to talk about it, because JP is in UK, and I don't know if it's safe to talk about that.
JP, how do you feel about this discussion? Should we?
Because it's extremely, okay, I've got no problem to talk about it, but the truth is bad and ugly. That's the problem.
Hang on. The expression of opinions in this program are purely the opinions of the speakers who have spoken them, and not the opinions of Wolf Spirit Radio itself. Go ahead.
Okay. So, Jessica, you will start or what? Tell me.
Okay, sure. All right. So, I was just happened to look at Prince Harry, and suddenly, he's getting engaged. There's all this information. There's this, Meghan Markle, who actually, looks like someone that was part of the royal family previously. But something didn't seem right. And then, of course, his theory about him actually stepping into the power position as opposed to his brother William. That would be interesting.
Yeah, you are right.
Okay, so maybe you can tell us what the agenda is, because it sounds like an agenda. And is Monarch behind it first? I'll ask if Monarch was involved in this, or is this cabal?
That's a little bit problem, because we need to think in which sort of a large company, large corporation, right, is not involved, are not involved Nordics. Nordics, they are not a race, they are some sort of hybrids made from like approximately 60 races. So who are the Nordics? They are EDs, like extraterrestrials living on both poles. How typical Nordics look like? Very tall, if we want to call them people, so okay, call them people. What is very tall? Like from 8 to 10 feet. And extremely if we are talking about common people, as people from Finland, Sweden or Norway. So how? Pale skin, blue or green eyes, blonde, respectively, red hair, right? So that's the end of story. And these groups because there are several groups, they are cooperating with each other. These groups of Nordics phenetized, just by the way, they phenetized the group of people around Hitler and, of course, Adolf Hitler himself before and during Second World War. And they are infiltrated in every single one of what? Of powerful and big world's corporation. And as all of us know, world's largest and most powerful corporations are some sort of connected with royal families all around the world. And believe it or not, this Meghan Markle was, she is not just random one. It doesn't matter that she's not looking like typical Nordic. It doesn't matter, right? The part of her agenda is to mix together two very powerful species. And I don't want to say reptilian because it's not the truth. Reptilian is only one tiny piece of reptiloids. So that's the fact that Royal British family is they are like reptiloids. So mix together reptiloids and Nordics. And once these, can we call them babies? Tell me, Jessica. Can we call them babies?
I don't know.
But you know what I'm trying to say.
It's another expanded hybrid of a species.
Yeah. So once these hybrids will be born, bad stuff for people all around the world. So that's the reason why is it so alarming, at least for us in ACIO, and that's the reason why it's like common confidential, it's some sort of nonsense that Prince Harry will be in charge, not Prince William. Just by the way. So this is pretty much it. If we wanna talk about it that way, am I right?
Yeah. So how do they explain this, or what did they give for reason why William would step down and Harry?
Because they will make up this Illuminati, Freemasonry, Bilderberg group, this sort of stuff. And once it will not work, they will connect him. Connect. Do you know what I mean? Like with some accusing him with some sort of cooperation with mafia. Well, once it is, and it doesn't matter if it will be true or not. That's the the main part of problem, because they will make all kind of crazy evidence, if you wanna call it that way. Even if it will be not the real deal evidence, they are okay with that,
Yeah, they'll just come up with typically they find a way to.
Yeah. You like it. I like it that you are creative. They will be creative. Yes.
Right. As they always do, they always find a way, because it seems like they seemingly break the rules according to however they need things to be.
Yes, you are absolutely right. Absolutely right. So that's the main part of the problem. And for example, these Russian diplomats, they are expelled from US and 14 or 15 European countries. Many people are like, are you serious? Such a diplomatic war or something? And it's for good reason. From US it was like 60 diplomats or something like that. It's for good reason because, how can I say that? Officially there is some sort of Cold War 2.0. I mean like between Western world and Russia. And now this diplomatic war and all kind of stuff. But what's the problem? This is not the problem, but because this also called braterstvo, what means in Russian language like what? Like brotherhood, right? It's some sort of mafia. They are very powerful all around the world, and freshly re-elected Russian president Vladimir Putin, he made some agreement with a lot of states all around the world that once they have some sort of some sort of suspicion that these and they and their people are like, okay, they are connected. They should be immediately deported back to Russia, and they will deal with them as they can. Do you know what I mean? So
Trump is doing that?
Of course, and not only Trump, as I told you. Trump expelled approximately 60 diplomats from US, and it's like from about 4 to 5, maybe as a minimum, and then like 10, maybe 12, dozen diplomats. Each country, variety of diplomats, like 14, maybe 15 European countries, mostly West European countries, and that's the stuff. Very smart move, because all the world is like Cold War 2, respectively, diplomatic wars 2 or 3, and so this sort of stuff. But it's actually not the truth, because they are helping each other. Do you know what I mean?
Right. So what do you think? What is Trump? What is his role in all of this?
Once again, Trump is our man. ACIO's man. Oh, sorry, my bad. Council of 5 men made him, and he was changed, sweep over, like what, 1976.
So when you told me that once he wrote a message to the ACIO and then he forgot he wrote the message, was that Trump?
Yes, it sometimes happened because sometimes they need to clean up his head, because once they will not do it, he will be extremely dangerous in order to make a possibility to be compromised, to get some sort of touchy information, if you want to call it that way, to another side. To the enemies. What they are, our enemies are especially Nordics.
Yeah, our enemies are ETs. But they're manipulating.
No, you are not right. Because he's ET too, just by the way.
No, I know, the bad ETs, I'm sorry.
Okay. So but we can call them. Bad ETs are not only reptilians, reptiloids, Anunnaki, Nephilims, then Pleiadians from 12th Pleiade, and Aldebrans, but you can you help me? Because they are like Aldebrans.
The ones that were had a negative agenda and they helped the Nazis.
But there was the name Belmonts, something like that. Yeah, Belmonts, because it's like Jean-Paul Belmondo. It's like the French, very famous French actor. So Belmonts, Belmonds, yeah, like that. So they are like some sort of Nephilim types, if you wanna call them that.
Okay, all right. So are they hybridized?
What? Sorry?
Were they a mixed race?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, you are right. So this is it, that it's some sort of our agenda, and I think that it's good to have both of them on our sides. Both of them, I mean, like Trump and Putin on our side. I mean, ACIOs respectively, Council of Five side, and all kind of this stuff.
And that prevents another world war, right?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. All right.
Do we have any problems with North Korea, or is that, are they calming down?
But that's the stuff. It is not about making, how can I say that, making some serious stuff with North Korea. No, it is, how can I say that, like, there is some sort of real deal agenda going on, and once they wanna draw attention in total different direction, right? No. Don't do that. Don't get to this corner. Pay attention to this. And they are making some strong words with I mean, like US with North Korea, but it's not a big deal. I mean, many people will not believe it or tell me that I'm some random bullshitter. It's up to their opinion. Do you know what I mean? Not up to me.
So do we have any? I mean, what is I imagine the ultimate agenda for the Nordics, and we're not talking literally about the humans that live in Scandinavia and that part of the world, but literally the species that's called the Nordics, as Peter said earlier. What is their agenda here? They just want world dominance? What do they want?
Do you know the German word Übermenschen? Like, it's technically it's impossible to translate it into English. Übermenschen. It's like people
Superman,
mention,
isn't it?
Superman, if you want to call it,
or
JP,
we were talking about super soldiers and stuff like that, but it's obviously more than just that,
yeah. But technically, it's not only super soldiers, but in outer reality where Nazi Germany won the Second World War, they were not super soldiers, but Über soldiers. Übersoldaten. And afterwards, after Übersoldaten, there were this and to be perfectly honest, I was scared from them, and they were Lichtsoldaten, what means like light soldiers? Yeah. And believe it or not, but that was my big mistake. I fell in love with the one. Yeah, my bad. Sorry.
But you fell in love with one of the light soldiers?
Yeah, of course. That was my bad. Okay, so funny. Thank you very much.
No, I you know what? Everyone falls in love with someone that they shouldn't at some time.
But why? I mean,
I don't know. It's something that we do as humans.
Thank you very much. This is not even close to be funny. But I think that how can I say that? This is it. I mean, like, that's a problem. That we've got the feelings, all kind of stuff, and
right.
Feelings every single time are leading us to a big mess. Am I right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. If it's the wrong person, it can be very dangerous. But
do you know what's the problem?
We all get tricked,
Do you know what's the problem?
What?
That she's loving me too, and there's another part of the problem, that she's going to our reality, and she's pulling me to their reality, and because she told me, like, I can't live without you and blah blah blah. What a crap.
Well,
so it sounds like you're a one-man episode of Fringe, Peter.
Thank you very much. I mean, like, yes, you are absolutely right. But her name is not Olivia.
Oh, that's all right then. Does she? So, can I ask about this stuff, Corpexifan, sort of, that it's a real thing and it's going out on the streets?
Yes.
Yeah, you are absolutely right. Yes, my friend.
Yeah. I'm going to have a friend of mine come in and talk, and she works at a rehab facility, and they actually brought in a SWAT team to discuss it because it threw everyone off. You know, the police force and everyone, they didn't know what they were dealing with, and they decided that they're going to have to, you know, anyone gets addicted to some of this stuff, what to expect and what to look for. And so while Peter was telling me the story, my friend was telling me what was going on at the same time. Neither one of them had a conversation with each other, but this is on the street level. So then I asked Peter if it was on the street, and he said yes.
But I am not kidding you. I'm, how can I say that? I can't made all these kind of stories, you know.
No.
I can't made it. Just because I am boring or something like that.
No, I mean, you know, one thing about you, Peter, I know people, whether they understand, where you're coming from, and the same with me, you know, I think we have a conscience, and we're not allowed to just make up stuff like this just to scare people and make them feel uncomfortable, but that we're, you know, it's a commitment that we have to tell the truth about what we know. Now, whether we include all the different aspects of it or not is, you know, we can only provide the information of what we understand at the time. But that's why I continue to talk to you, because I know that you have what they call integrity, and that you would never just say something.
Yeah, thank you.
So, and you know, we want to make sure that the whole point is to get the information out to people. And like you said, if we weren't saying something, you know, disclosing what was actually going on, they wouldn't be threatening us.
Yes, you are right. And I was threatened so many times. Yes.
Right. Yep. And, yeah.
Just by the way, sorry for interrupting, yeah, because you asked JP. So, I mean, I don't want to say where and when it started in Europe, but at least from my information, my bad. Cortexifen first appeared in Germany, respectively on German-French border. And according to my information, Cortexifen firstly appeared in South California. Am I right, Jessica?
Yeah, Southern California is where my friend's at.
Yeah. But I just want to answer your questions because it's, you know, it's polite to answer the question.
We've got about 2 minutes left.
Okay. Well,
okay.
I want to say, Peter, thank you very much for joining us today and disclosing some information. And giving us an update from the ACIO and helping to keep people better informed.
Thank you very much for giving me a space in like being online.
Awesome. And so this will help people if people want to contact you or do you, how do you want to do it? Do you want to?
Yeah, I can make some Skype sessions. It's not a problem, not a big deal for me.
Okay. And also, we'll bring in the Super Soldier Talk because we did a few interviews that are coming out soon. And if people want to get more information on that, of what's been going on, then to be listening in for that. And I also want to say thank you, JP, for the show. Continue to support Will Spirit Radio. This is where you're getting your information. Continue to support the source that keeps the airwaves open for people that want to bring in and keep you informed. Thank you, everyone, and I will see you next week.